Ambassador Sarah Chen stood in the center of the massive chamber. The walls stretched up so high she could barely see the ceiling. Around her, 12 different alien species sat in their seats, looking down at her like judges. The air smelled strange and made her nose itch. She had been standing there for 3 hours now, but she refused to show any weakness. Sarah was the first human to ever stand in this place. Earth had discovered faster-than-light travel only 2 years ago. When they picked up signals from the Galactic Council, humanity thought they had finally found their place among the stars. They thought they would be welcomed as equals. They were wrong. The creature speaking to her now was called High Counselor Vex. It looked like a giant spider made of metal and glass. When it spoke, its voice came from speakers built into the walls. The sound echoed around the chamber like thunder. "Human Chen," Vex said, "you have heard our terms. Your species will accept the guidance protocols. You will place your world under our protection for 1,000 of your years. During this time, we will teach you how to be civilized. You will learn to take your proper place in the galaxy." Sarah felt her heart beating fast, but she kept her voice steady. "With respect, High Counselor, my people have already discussed your offer. We cannot accept terms that make us slaves to your council." A sound like breaking glass came from Vex. Sarah realized it was laughing. "Slaves? Child, you misunderstand. We do not make slaves. We guide young species away from their primitive ways. Look around you. Every species in this council once stood where you stand now. They accepted our wisdom. They became part of something greater." Sarah looked at the other council members. There was a creature that looked like a floating jellyfish with too many eyes. Another looked like a tree with arms. Some looked almost human, but their skin was blue or green or silver. All of them stared at her with the same expression. They looked at her like she was a child throwing a tantrum. "How many species have you guided?" Sarah asked. "Thousands," Vex replied. "In 10,000 years of peace, we have brought order to this galaxy. We have ended wars. We have stopped suffering. We have created paradise. And what happened to the species that said no?" The chamber went very quiet. Sarah could hear her own breathing. She could hear the hum of machines somewhere in the walls. But none of the council members made a sound. Finally, Vex spoke again. "No species has ever been so foolish as to refuse our guidance." "Then I guess we are the first," Sarah said. The jellyfish creature spoke up. Its voice was high and musical. "Perhaps the human does not understand. Let me explain in simple terms. Your species has weapons that can destroy cities. You fight wars over land and resources. You poison your own world with chemicals and waste. You are dangerous to yourselves and others. We cannot allow such a species to spread through the galaxy without proper supervision." Sarah felt anger rising in her chest. "We have problems, yes, but we are working to fix them. We have stopped many wars. We are cleaning our world. We are learning to be better. We do not need 1,000 years of being treated like children." The tree creature's branches rustled. "All young species think they can solve their problems alone. They are always wrong. Accept our guidance, or your species will destroy itself within a century." "That is our choice to make," Sarah said. "If we fail as free beings. If we succeed on our own terms." Vex's mechanical legs clicked against the floor. "Freedom is an illusion, human. Order is reality. Peace is reality. We have created the greatest civilization in the history of the galaxy. We offer you a place in that civilization. Do not be foolish enough to refuse." Sarah took a deep breath. She thought about Earth. She thought about her daughter playing in the park back home. She thought about all the humans who had trusted her to speak for them. She thought about what it meant to be human. "I refuse," she said. "Humanity refuses. We will find our own path among the stars." The silence that followed was different than before. This was not the quiet of surprise. This was the quiet of anger. Sarah could feel it pressing down on her like a weight. Vex spoke slowly. "You are making a grave mistake, human. We have been patient with your species because you are young. But patience has limits." "Are you threatening us?" Sarah asked. "I am educating you," Vex replied. When a child refuses to learn, sometimes harsh lessons are necessary. Two guards appeared at Sarah's sides. They looked like humans, but their skin was gray and their eyes were black. They grabbed her arms with hands that felt like metal. "What are you doing?" Sarah demanded. "We are sending a message," Vex said. "To your people, to any other species that might think they can defy the Council. Order must be maintained, peace must be preserved, and sometimes examples must be made." The guards began to drag Sarah toward a door she had not noticed before. She tried to pull away, but they were too strong. "Wait," she shouted. "I am an ambassador. I have diplomatic immunity." "You are a representative of a species that has refused to join galactic civilization," Vex said. "Such protections do not apply to barbarians." Sarah was pulled through the door into a smaller chamber. In the center was a platform surrounded by cameras. She realized with horror what was about to happen. They were going to execute her, and they were going to broadcast it to the galaxy. She was forced onto the platform. The cameras began to record. She could see screens around the chamber showing her face. Her image was being sent across the galaxy, to Earth, to every world in the Council. "Any last words, human?" Vex asked. Sarah looked directly into the main camera. She thought about her daughter. She thought about every human who would see this message. She thought about what they would do when they learned their ambassador had been murdered for refusing to bow down. "Tell them we choose to stand," she said. The energy beam hit her a second later. The pain lasted only a moment. Then everything went dark, but the message was already traveling through space, racing toward Earth at the speed of light, carrying with it the news that would change everything. The Galactic Council thought they had ended a problem. Instead, they had just created their worst nightmare. They had given humanity a reason for war. Admiral Marcus Torres was reviewing ship reports when the communication came in. He was sitting in his office on Luna Station, Earth's moon. Through his window he could see Earth hanging in space like a blue and white marble. It looked peaceful. From here, beautiful, safe. The message changed everything. "Admiral," his aide said, rushing into the office. Lieutenant Kim looked pale and shaken. "Sir, we just received a transmission from the Galactic Council. It's about Ambassador Chen." Torres felt his stomach drop. Sarah Chen was his friend. They had served together in Earth's small space navy before she became a diplomat. She was brave and smart, and believed humanity could find its place among the stars through words instead of weapons. "Show me," Torres said. The holographic display activated in the center of his office. The image was crystal clear. Torres watched as Sarah stood in the massive alien chamber, surrounded by creatures that looked like nightmares. He listened as she spoke with dignity and courage. He watched as she refused to make humanity slaves to the Council. Then he watched them kill her. The energy beam hit Sarah and she collapsed. The alien called Vex spoke to the camera. "This is what happens to species that refuse the natural order. Earth has 30 of your days to accept the guidance protocols. If they refuse, we will implement corrective action. This transmission is being sent to every human settlement in the galaxy. Choose wisely." The message ended. Torres sat in silence for a long moment. His hands were shaking with rage. "Sir?" Lieutenant Kim asked quietly. "Get me President Walsh," Torres said. "Get me the Joint Chiefs, get me the Colonial Governor, get everyone. We need to meet right now." An hour later, Torres was in the emergency bunker beneath Geneva. The President sat at the head of the table. Around her were the leaders of every major nation on Earth, military commanders, scientists, engineers, the heads of the colonial settlements on Mars and Europa. Everyone had seen the transmission. Everyone knew what it meant. "They murdered our ambassador," President Walsh said. Her voice was steady, but Torres could see the anger in her eyes. "They executed her in cold blood for refusing to make us slaves." General Morrison from the European Union spoke up. "What are our options? We have maybe 50 ships that could fight. They have thousands, maybe millions. They control the entire galaxy. We could try to negotiate," suggested Dr. Petrov from the Science Council. "Maybe we can find some middle ground." They just killed our negotiator, snapped Admiral Chen's replacement from the diplomatic corps. There is no middle ground. They want us to bow down or they will destroy us. President Walsh looked around the table. Admiral Torres, what is your military assessment? Torres stood up. He activated a holographic display showing Earth's defensive capabilities. It was not impressive. We have 48 combat ships. They are good ships, but they are designed for fighting pirates and rebels, not an entire galactic civilization. We have orbital defense platforms around Earth, Mars, and Europa. We have ground-based missile systems. In a straight fight, we would last maybe a few hours. The room fell silent. Everyone stared at the numbers. 48 ships against thousands, it was hopeless. So we surrender? Asked the Chinese representative. No, said President Walsh firmly. We do not surrender. Sarah Chen died rather than accept slavery for our species. We will not make her sacrifice meaningless. Then what do we do? Morrison asked. Torres had been thinking about this since he saw the transmission. We disappear. What do you mean? The president asked. We go silent. Complete communication blackout. No transmissions in or out of human space. We recall every ship, every diplomat, every trader. We make it look like we are afraid. We make them think we are weak. But won't that just make them angrier? Dr. Petrov asked. Maybe, Torres said. But it will also buy us time. They gave us 30 days. We use those 30 days to prepare. Prepare? For what? Morrison demanded. We just agreed we cannot fight them. Torres smiled, but there was no humor in it. We cannot fight them the way they expect us to fight. But humans have been at war for thousands of years. We know how to fight dirty. We know how to fight smart. We know how to fight when we are outnumbered. The president leaned forward. Explain. They have been at peace for 10,000 years, Torres said. They have forgotten what real war looks like. They think in terms of fleets and battles and surrender ceremonies. They do not think about sabotage, about hit-and-run attacks, about turning their own systems against them. You are talking about guerrilla warfare, Morrison said, but in space. Exactly. They want to make an example of us? Let's give them an example they will never forget. Over the next 6 hours, they planned humanity's response. It was not a plan for victory. It was a plan for survival. More than that, it was a plan to show the galaxy that humans would not go quietly into slavery. The first step was the silence. Every human ship was recalled. Every communication array was shut down. Every colony stopped all transmissions. To the galaxy, it would look like humanity had simply vanished. The second step was preparation. Every shipyard was converted to military production. Every factory began making weapons. Every scientist began working on new technologies. Every soldier began training for a new kind of war. The third step was the most important. Torres called it the Long Night Protocol. If the Galactic Council wanted to destroy humanity, they would have to find humanity first. And Torres was going to make sure that was not easy. Within hours of the meeting, the orders went out. To Earth, to Mars, to Europa, to every human settlement in the galaxy. The message was simple. Go dark, stay quiet, prepare for war. The response was immediate. Communication arrays powered down. Ships changed course for home. Colonies stopped all external transmissions. To anyone watching from outside, human space simply went silent. High Counselor Vex received the first reports 12 hours later. His aide, a nervous creature with too many arms, brought him the data. The humans have stopped all communications, High Counselor, the aide said. Every ship has disappeared from trade routes. Every colony has gone silent. Vex's mechanical legs clicked with satisfaction. Excellent, they are frightened, as expected. Should we send observers to monitor their surrender preparations? No need, Vex said. Fear makes all species predictable. They will spend the next 30 days arguing among themselves. Some will want to fight. Others will demand surrender. In the end, survival instinct will win. They will accept the protocols. Vex was wrong. Humanity was not arguing. They were not panicking. They were working. In shipyards hidden in asteroid belts, new weapons were being built. In laboratories buried, deep underground, scientists were developing technologies that had never been seen before. In training centers across the solar system, soldiers were learning how to fight a war that would span the galaxy. The silence was not fear. It was focus. Humanity had 30 days to transform from a peaceful species into something the galaxy had never seen before. They were going to use every minute. The countdown had begun, and when it ended, the Galactic Council would learn what it truly meant to fight a species that had nothing left to lose. Dr. Elena Vasquez had not slept in 3 days. Her eyes were red and her hands shook from too much coffee, but she could not stop working. None of them could stop. They had 22 days left. She stood in the center of the largest laboratory, on Earth. It was buried 2 miles underground beneath the Swiss mountains. Before the crisis, this place had been used to study particle physics. Now it was humanity's war room. Around her, the best minds from every nation worked at holographic displays. Physicists from Russia worked next to engineers from Japan. Computer specialists from Brazil shared data with weapons experts from Germany. The old divisions between countries meant nothing now. They were all human. They were all fighting for the same thing. "Elena, come look at this," called Dr. Park from the weapons section. He was a small man with thick glasses who had spent his career designing mining explosives. Now he was building weapons that could crack open alien ships. Elena walked over to his station. On the display was a 3-dimensional model of something that looked like a metal spider. It was about the size of a baseball. "What is it?" Elena asked. "I call it a widow," Park said. "It is a self-guided bomb. You fire it at an enemy ship. It attaches to the hull and cuts through the metal. Then it crawls inside and explodes." Elena studied the design. It was clever, simple, deadly. "How many can we build in 20 days? With every factory on Earth working? Maybe 10,000? Elena nodded. It was not enough to destroy a galactic fleet, but it might be enough to surprise them. And surprise was all humanity had. She moved to the next station where Captain Rodriguez was working with a team of former pirates and smugglers. Before the crisis, these people had been criminals. Now they were some of humanity's most valuable assets. "Show me what you have," Elena said. Rodriguez grinned. He was missing 2 teeth and had scars on his face from a knife fight. "We have been studying their communication intercepts. The Council uses the same frequency for all their ships, same encryption, same protocols. They have not changed their codes in 1,000 years. So we can listen to them?" "Better than that," Rodriguez said. "We can talk to them. We can pretend to be them. We can tell their ships to go to the wrong places. We can make their commanders think they are getting orders from the Council." Elena felt a spark of hope. "How many ships can you fool?" "All of them," Rodriguez said. "At least for a while. Once they figure out what we are doing, they will change their codes. But by then it might be too late." Elena moved to the 3rd station where Professor Chen was working. He was Ambassador Chen's father. His daughter had been murdered, but he showed no emotion. He just worked with cold focus. "Professor, what do you have?" "I have been studying their technology," he said. "Their ships are very advanced, but they have a weakness. They use the same energy source for everything. Weapons, shields, engines, life support. Everything runs on something they call quantum resonance cores." "What does that mean for us?" "It means if we can disrupt the resonance frequency, their ships become floating coffins," Professor Chen said. "No power, no air, no way to call for help." Elena stared at him. "Can we build a weapon that does that?" "We already have, Professor," Chen said. He pointed to a device that looked like a metal tube. "We call it a silence gun. 1 shot from this and an alien ship goes dead in space." Elena felt her heart beating faster. These weapons could work. They might actually have a chance. She walked to the center of the laboratory and activated the main display. It showed a map of human space. Earth was at the center, surrounded by Mars, Europa, and the outer colonies. Red dots marked where alien forces were positioned, just outside their territory. Listen up, everyone, Elena called out. The laboratory went quiet. We have been working for 8 days. In 20 more days, the Galactic Council will come for us. They expect to find a weak species ready to surrender. Instead, they are going to find something they have never seen before. She changed the display to show their battle plan. It was unlike anything in military history. We are not going to fight them ship to ship, Elena continued. We are not going to meet them in open battle. We are going to disappear into the dark and hurt them in ways they cannot imagine. The plan was called Operation Ghost. The first part was simple. When the alien fleet arrived, they would find Earth apparently defenseless. The orbital platforms would be powered down. The defense ships would be nowhere to be seen. It would look like humanity had given up. But hidden throughout the solar system were surprises. Asteroids had been hollowed out and turned into weapons platforms. Space stations disguised as debris. Ships hiding in the shadow of moons. The entire solar system had become a trap. The second part was more complex. Small human ships would slip past the alien fleet using stealth technology borrowed from submarines. These ships would plant widow bombs on alien vessels. They would hack communication systems. They would use silence guns to disable ships one by one. The third part was the most dangerous. Teams of humans would infiltrate alien ships and sabotage them from the inside. It was a suicide mission, but volunteers were not hard to find. Everyone remembered Ambassador Chen's execution. We are not trying to win, Elena explained. We are trying to send a message. We want every species in the galaxy to know that humans cannot be pushed around. That freedom is worth fighting for. Captain Rodriguez raised his hand. What if we actually win? What if we destroy their whole fleet? Elena smiled for the first time in days. Then we send an even stronger message. Over the next 20 days, humanity transformed. Every ship was modified with new weapons and stealth systems. Every soldier was trained in zero-gravity combat. Every scientist worked on ways to hurt the aliens. But the most important change was not in the weapons or the ships. It was in the people. The execution of Ambassador Chen had done something the Galactic Council never expected. It had united humanity like nothing ever had before. Rich and poor, young and old, every nation and every colony worked together. They shared resources without complaint. They shared knowledge without holding back. They shared the same dream of freedom. On the morning of the 20th day, Elena received a message from Admiral Torres. The alien fleet had been spotted at the edge of the solar system. 12 ships, just as intelligence had predicted. They would arrive at Earth in 6 hours. Elena looked around the laboratory one last time. The weapons were ready. The ships were in position. The traps were set. Everything humanity could do had been done. Now came the hard part. Now came the fighting. Elena activated the communication system that connected her to every human in the solar system. Millions of people were listening. Soldiers and scientists, mothers and children, everyone who had worked to prepare for this moment. In 6 hours, the aliens will arrive, she said. They think they are coming to accept our surrender. They think we are weak and frightened. They are wrong. Today we show the galaxy what it means to be human. Today we choose freedom over slavery. Today we choose to fight. The response came from every ship, every station, every settlement in human space. Millions of voices speaking as one. For Ambassador Chen. For humanity. For freedom. The waiting was over. The war was about to begin. Commander Zektor stared at the view screen from the bridge of his flagship. 12 ships of the Galactic Council Peace Fleet hung in space at the edge of the Sol system. They were beautiful ships, white and silver, shaped like graceful birds. Each one was 3 miles long and carried enough firepower to level a continent. Zektor was a Valerian, one of the oldest species in the Council. His people had been keeping peace in the galaxy for 8,000 years. This mission should have been routine. A simple show of force to bring a rebellious young species into line. But something felt wrong. Sensor report, Zektor ordered. Hizzy, a nervous Trithan with blue skin and forearms, consulted his instruments. The human home system appears to be empty, Commander. No ships detected, no communication signals. Even the orbital platforms around their homeworld are powered down. Zektor frowned. In 8,000 years of peacekeeping, no species had ever simply vanished before a council intervention. They either surrendered immediately or put up a futile resistance. They did not disappear. Life signs on the planet? He asked. Readings are unclear, Commander. There are cities, but they appear to be mostly empty, as if the population has gone into hiding. Underground bunkers? Possibly, or they may have evacuated to their other colonies. Zektor considered this. It was possible the humans had fled to their outer settlements. Fear made people do strange things, but his instincts, honed by centuries of military service, told him something else was happening. Take us in slowly, he ordered. Full sensor sweeps. I want to know about every piece of debris in this system. The fleet moved forward. Their sensors reached out like invisible fingers, probing every corner of space. They found nothing threatening, just asteroids and gas clouds and the empty shells of space stations. As they passed the orbit of the human world called Jupiter, the sensors detected movement. Commander, the aide said, we are picking up small objects in the asteroid belt. They appear to be mining operations. Zektor looked at the display. Hundreds of small shapes moved among the rocks. They were too small to be warships, too slow to be dangerous. Probably automated mining ships, he said. The humans were always good at industrial work. Continue toward their homeworld. The fleet moved deeper into the system, past Jupiter, past Mars. Earth grew larger on the screen, a blue and white marble hanging in the darkness. It looked peaceful, defenseless. Any response to our communications? Zektor asked. Nothing, Commander. Complete radio silence. This was unprecedented. Even the most stubborn species eventually tried to negotiate when faced with a council fleet. The humans were acting like they did not even know the ships were there. Take us into orbit around their planet, Zektor ordered. Prepare to broadcast the surrender terms. The 12 ships arranged themselves around Earth. Their weapons powered up, their shields activated. Everything was ready for a standard occupation. That was when the asteroids began to move. The first sign of trouble came from the sensor station. Commander, I am detecting unusual movement in the asteroid belt. The mining ships are changing course. Zektor looked at the tactical display. The small objects they had dismissed as mining equipment were indeed moving. But they were not moving randomly. They were moving with purpose. They were surrounding the fleet. How many? He asked. Sensors show 200, 400. The number keeps growing, Commander. They are everywhere. A chill ran down Zektor's spine. Magnify. Image of the nearest object. The screen changed to show a close-up view of one of the approaching objects. It was not a mining ship. It was an asteroid, maybe a mile across, but it had been changed. Metal structures covered its surface. Weapon ports, engine nozzles. It was a warship disguised as a rock. Alert the fleet, Zektor shouted. We are under attack. Raise shields, charge weapons. But it was too late. The humans had planned this perfectly. The first salvo came from every direction at once. Hundreds of concealed weapons platforms opened fire. Energy beams and missiles streaked through space toward the Council ships. The Council vessels were powerful, but they had been designed for fighting other ships, not for dealing with an entire solar system that had been turned into a weapon. Shields, holding, reported the tactical officer. But we are taking damage from multiple sources. Return fire, Zektor ordered. Target the largest platforms. The Council ships fired back. Their weapons were devastating. Each shot could destroy a city. But there were too many targets. For every platform they destroyed, 3 more appeared from behind asteroids and moons. Then the real surprises began. Small objects detached from the hidden platforms. They moved fast, darting between the Council ships like angry insects. At first, Zektor thought they were missiles, but missiles exploded when they hit their targets. These things attached themselves to the hulls of his ships and began cutting through the armor. What are those things? He demanded. Unknown, Commander. They appear to be some kind of autonomous cutting device. They are breaching hulls on decks 7 through 12. Send repair teams. Sir, the devices are inside the ship now. They are exploding. The flagship shuddered as small explosions erupted throughout its structure. Emergency alarms screamed. Smoke began filling the corridors. But the worst, surprise was yet to come. Commander, the communications officer called out. I am receiving orders from Fleet Command. We are ordered to stand down and withdraw immediately. Zektor stared at him. That is impossible. Fleet Command would never order a withdrawal in the middle of an engagement. Sir, the authentication codes are correct. The transmission is coming from Admiral Keth's personal ship. Zektor realized what was happening. The humans had hacked their communication system. They were sending false orders to confuse his fleet. Ignore all communications, he ordered. Fight on visual signals only. But the damage was already done. 3 of his ships had powered down their weapons, thinking they had received orders to surrender. They were sitting helpless as human weapons platforms surrounded them. Commander, the sensor officer shouted. Multiple human ships approaching from the planet. They are firing some kind of energy weapon. On the screen, Zektor watched in horror as thin blue beams struck his ships. Wherever the beams touched, systems began shutting down. Weapons went silent. Shields collapsed. Life support failed. What is that weapon? He demanded. Unknown, Commander. It appears to disrupt our power systems at the quantum level. 2 more of his ships went dark. They hung in space like dead whales, their crews trapped inside without power or air. Zektor had been in combat for 300 years. He had fought pirates and rebels and rogue artificial intelligences, but he had never seen anything like this. The humans were not just fighting. They were demonstrating a completely new kind of warfare. Order the fleet to retreat, he said quietly. Sir? You heard me. Signal the withdrawal. Get our remaining ships out of this system. What about the crews of the disabled ships? Zektor looked at the tactical display. 7 of his 12 ships were either destroyed or disabled. The remaining 5 were taking heavy damage from weapons platforms they could barely detect. Leave them, he said. It was the hardest order he had ever given. We have to warn the Council. The 5 surviving ships turned and fled toward the edge of the system. Behind them, the humans did not pursue. They simply watched as the mighty Council fleet ran away. As his ship jumped to hyperspace, Zektor sent a priority message to the Galactic Council. It was short and simple. The humans are not what we expected. Send everything. Back in the Sol system, Admiral Torres watched the alien ships disappear on his command screen. Around him, his staff cheered and celebrated. They had won. Against impossible odds, they had defeated a Council fleet, but Torres did not celebrate. He knew this was only the beginning. The real test was still to come. He activated the fleet communication system. This is Admiral Torres to all human forces. Well done, but do not get comfortable. They will be back, and next time they will bring their entire fleet. He paused, thinking about Ambassador Chen and her final words. Prepare for total war, he said, because that is what we are going to get. High Counselor Vex stood in the center of the council chamber, his mechanical legs clicking against the floor. Around him, the representatives of 12 species sat in shocked silence. They had just received Commander Zektor's report from the Sol system. 7 ships destroyed, Vex said, his voice echoing through the chamber. 5 ships fled, one of the most humiliating defeats in Council history, and it was done by a species we considered primitive. The jellyfish creature spoke. First, how is this possible? Humans have been in space for only a few years. Their technology is centuries behind ours. Their technology may be primitive, said the tree creature, but their tactics are not. They turned their entire star system into a weapon. They fought like no species we have ever encountered. Vex's metal body hummed with anger. It does not matter how they fought. What matters is that they defied us. They killed our peacekeepers. They must be punished. The blue-skinned humanoid representative leaned forward. Perhaps we should reconsider. If they can defeat a council fleet, maybe we should offer them a different arrangement. Absolutely not, Vex snapped. If we show weakness now, every subjugated species in the galaxy will think they can rebel. Order must be maintained. Peace must be preserved. Then what? Do you propose? Asked another council member. Total war, Vex said. We mobilize the Grand Fleet. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. We do not just defeat the humans, we erase them completely. Murmurs of concern rippled through the chamber. The Grand Fleet had not been used in 5,000 years. It was meant for threats to the entire galaxy, not for dealing with one rebellious planet. That seems extreme, the jellyfish creature said. Perhaps a larger force would be sufficient. No, Vex replied. The humans have proven they are dangerous. We end this threat permanently. I am ordering the mobilization of 1,000 ships. The chamber fell silent. 1,000 ships was enough firepower to crack a planet in half. The vote is called, Vex announced. All in favor of total military action against the human species. One by one, the council members raised their hands or tentacles or branches. Some hesitated, but in the end, fear won over mercy. Fear of losing control. Fear of other species following humanity's example. The vote was unanimous. Within hours, the mobilization began. From every corner of the galaxy, council ships began, moving toward human space. Battle cruisers and destroyers, carrier ships full of fighters, massive dreadnoughts that had not seen combat in millennia. But the humans had not been idle during the 3 weeks since their first victory. Captain Maria Santos crouched in the ventilation shaft of a council supply depot. Around her, 5 other humans moved silently through the darkness. They wore black armor that made them nearly invisible. Their faces were painted to hide the shine of their skin. This depot was located on Kepler Station, a major council facility 300 light-years from Earth. It supplied fuel and ammunition to ships throughout this sector of the galaxy. If it were destroyed, dozens of council ships would be stranded. Santos checked her watch. In 60 seconds, teams like hers would strike similar targets across the galaxy. The humans called it Operation Chaos. Remember, she whispered to her team. Get in, plant the charges, get out. We are not here to fight. We are here to send a message. Her team nodded. They had all volunteered for this mission knowing they might not come home. But they also knew that every council ship they could stop here was one less ship that would attack Earth. Santos cut through the metal grating with a plasma torch. One by one, her team dropped into the depot below. The alien workers never saw them coming. The charges were placed quickly and efficiently. Bombs on the fuel tanks, viruses in the computer systems, widow devices on every ship in the docking bay. As her team prepared to leave, Santos activated her communicator. This is Team 7. Package delivered. All across the galaxy. Similar. Reports came in. Team 3, package delivered. Team 12, package delivered. Team 21, package delivered. 47 council facilities were hit simultaneously. Supply depots exploded. Communication arrays went dark. Repair stations lost power. In one coordinated strike, the humans had crippled the council's ability to support their fleet. But High Counselor Vex was determined to press on. Even with damaged supply lines, the Grand Fleet was still the most powerful force in the galaxy. 800 ships had reached the staging area near human space. It was enough to destroy every human settlement 10 times over. Begin the final assault, Vex ordered from his command ship. I want every human world burned to ash. The Grand Fleet moved toward the Sol system like a wave of death. Their sensors detected no human ships, no defense platforms. It seemed the humans had given up after their earlier victory. They were wrong. The attack came from hyperspace itself. As the council ships traveled between stars, human vessels dropped out of hidden positions and struck at the fleet's flanks. These were not the converted asteroids from the first battle. These were purpose-built warships, sleek and fast and deadly. The humans had learned from studying captured council technology. Their new ships used quantum resonance cores just like the aliens, but with human improvements. They were faster, more maneuverable, and they carried weapons the council had never seen before. Report, Vex demanded as explosions lit up the space around his ship. We are under attack by approximately 200 human vessels, his aide replied. They are using hit-and-run tactics. They strike and then disappear back into hyperspace before we can respond. How many ships have we lost? 57, with more disabled. They are targeting our engines and weapons specifically. Vex watched the tactical display with growing horror. The humans were not trying to destroy his entire fleet. They were trying to capture it. Every disabled ship was boarded by human marines. Every captured crew was taken prisoner. It was a strategy no species had ever used before. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "we are receiving a transmission from the humans. They want to talk." "Put it on screen." Admiral Torres appeared on the main display. He looked tired, but determined. Behind him, Vex could see the bridge of a human warship. "High Counselor Vex," Torres said, "I believe we need to discuss terms." "Terms?" Vex sputtered. "You dare to speak of terms? You are outnumbered 4-1. "Am I?" Torres asked. "Let me show you something." The display changed to show a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked council worlds. Blue dots marked the locations of human strike teams. "While you were gathering your fleet to attack us," Torres continued, "we were spreading across the galaxy. We have teams on every major council world, teams with very powerful explosives, teams that are waiting for my signal." Vex stared at the map in disbelief. There were hundreds of blue dots. The humans had infiltrated the entire council territory. "You are bluffing," Vex said. "Am I?" Torres replied. He pressed a button on his command console. On the map, 12 blue dots turned red. 12 council worlds suddenly went dark as their orbital facilities exploded. "Those were just the military targets," Torres said calmly. "The civilian populations are unharmed. But if you continue this attack, that will change." Vex felt something he had not experienced in centuries. Fear. Real, cold fear. "What do you want?" he asked. "Simple," Torres replied. "You leave human space alone. Forever. In return, we will leave council space alone. We go our separate ways. And, if we refuse," Torres smiled, but there was no warmth in it, "then we show the galaxy what total war really means. We destroy your fleets. We liberate your subject species. We tear down everything you have built over the last 10,000 years." The communication ended. Vex stood in silence, staring at the dark screen. His aide approached cautiously. "Orders, High Counselor?" Vex looked around the bridge. Half his fleet was gone. The other half was surrounded by human ships that appeared and disappeared like ghosts. Behind him, the Council's entire civilization was held hostage by human saboteurs. "Signal the fleet," he said quietly. "We are withdrawing." "Sir?" "You heard me. Order the withdrawal. All ships return to Council space immediately." As the Grand Fleet retreated, Torres broadcast a message to the entire galaxy. It was transmitted on every frequency, in every language. "People of the galaxy," he said, "today you have seen what happens when a free species refuses to bow down to tyranny. The Galactic Council told you they were invincible. They told you resistance was hopeless. They were wrong." The transmission showed images of the battle. Council, ships fleeing, human vessels victorious, the mighty Grand Fleet running away. "Freedom is not a gift," Torres continued. "Freedom is a choice. Today, humanity chose freedom. Tomorrow, you can make the same choice." Across the galaxy, on 1,000 different worlds, oppressed species watched the transmission. They saw young species defeat the Council through courage and determination. They began to hope, and hope, once kindled, spreads like fire. The Galactic Council had wanted to make an example of humanity. Instead, they had created something far more dangerous. They had created inspiration. Within months, rebellions began breaking out on Council worlds. Species that had been subjects for centuries began demanding their freedom. The galaxy that had known 10,000 years of enforced peace suddenly erupted into revolution. And at the center of it all were the humans. Not as conquerors, but as teachers. Teaching other species how to fight.